good morning and welcome to Vlogmas day 4. Today is Tuesday and it's a sewing day today. I think I'm going to just stay in my sewing room and just sew and have a lovely day in my bubble. This morning I have just finished, I'm just putting the finishing touches to yesterday's vlog where I put up the Christmas tree and all the Christmas decorations, so yay. The one sewing thing that I want to try and achieve today is to show you how to make the advent calendar I designed. So I was going to do it as like a separate tutorial in the sort of same style that I usually do my tutorials, but I really don't have time to make that kind of video, so I think I'm just going to do it as a vlog style tutorial and just film it as I go. So hopefully it'll work out. Technically I've only really written everything for that advent calendar is all still at its draft stages. I haven't really done proper like pattern instructions. I still haven't done the applique sort of trees yet in the pattern. I haven't really totally finalized all of the measurements. We're just gonna wing it and go for it and see if it works, I think, because it's the 4th day of December and we really need to have this advent calendar sort of made already, I think. So we're going to do that today and hope it works. But first I'm going to finish getting this vlog up and just ready to go and scheduled and ready, and then we will concentrate on doing some sewing. I also need to figure out what I'm doing with this wreath. Last night I totally demolished it. I took off all of the stuff that I glued on it last year, and I don't know whether I'm going to put the same things back on. I think I might have to make a trip to Spotlight or even another floristry place called Kosh. They do a lot of floristry supplies, and they also do really lovely fake flowers, so maybe it's not going to happen this week because I've got things planned almost every single day up until Monday next week, so maybe that's going to have to happen next week, maybe, but we'll see. But yeah, that wreath needs to be redone, and I think I'll show you how to do another one, like another design type thing. Yeah, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But yes, I gotta get this vlog done and then we'll get into how we make an advent calendar, or the one that I've designed anyway. So I think I'm now ready to get started on my advent calendar. I've done a little bit more measurements and I've done a little bit more of the pattern, and now I'm just going to get on with it because I just want to start it. So I'll show you the materials that I'm using for each sort of bit, and as I go along I will actually tell you the measurements that I'm using and like what I'm doing for each step and stuff like that. But if you're unable to sort of keep up with it, there will be a written pattern that you can follow along with. I'll link it with this video. If you are interested in making this advent calendar, there will be a pattern accompanying this little tutorial thing that we're doing today. So I'll show you the materials that I'm using. So starting with the felt, this is the color that I'm going to be using for the background, and then this gorgeous Christmas fabric is going to be part of the backing. Then I've got these wonderful felt pieces. These are going to be for the pockets. Then on the pockets I'm going to be putting this herringbone tape. This herringbone tape is going to be stamped with the numbers of each day. I've just got a stamp pad and some stamp numbers. And then for decoration we've just got some pom-poms, some stars for the tree, and then just some cord for when we hang it up. This is going to be sandwiched in the middle of the advent calendar. This is called a parlin. It's just a really lightweight sort of batting. It's got little iron-on little pebbles on the back. And then over here I have some green felt for the trees, applique pieces for the trees, which will be a part of the pattern, and then some heat and bond or some Vlogmas paper to applique the trees onto the advent calendar. So along with all of this stuff, you'll also need your sewing machine, along with all of your cutting tools and all that sort of stuff. So now I'm just going to pop on some music. I'm going to cut out all of my pieces and I'll be with you again in a minute. Okay, so all of my pieces have been cut out. I cut a 31 by 28 inch piece of felt for our backing. I've cut out some squares for our applique trees, and these little bits are for the little stumps. We've done 3-inch squares for the front of the calendar, 2.5-inch strips of herringbone tape, and we're going to stamp on these. So that is our next step. We will be stamping our little numbers on our herringbone tape and then move on to the next step. So all of my herringbone pieces have all been stamped with all of the numbers up to 25. Now I'm going to pop them onto the 3-inch squares, and the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to do it quite randomly, but this is my 3-inch square. I'm just going to pop it about there, about 3/4 down the square. I'm going to tuck this under like so. I've popped a pin in it to keep it in place, so that's what it looks like on the back. And then what I'm going to do on the sewing machine is I'm just going to sew a line all along this edge here, down this edge here, and then all the way along the bottom. I'm going to do that for every square. So what I've done as I've been pinning the numbers on is I've just been laying them out so I don't have two colours together too much. I mean, I have these sort of colours like that and here, but it can't really be helped. So I've just laid it all out. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to sew around the edges of each of the numbers, and then we're ready for the next step. Okay, so the next step is to place our 3-inch squares with our numbers on it onto our backing felt, and I'm starting with the bottom row and I'm going to work my way up. What I've done is I've laid out my tape measure. I've measured 1.5 inches in, and I've popped a square down, and then we're having 1/2 inch between each square, 1/2 inch, so that they're all nice and even. And also from the top to here, this is 1.5 inches as well, so it should be all 1.5 inches around this edge. Now I'm going to pin them all together and then sew around from this edge all the way around to this edge so that we have a little pocket. So the first row has all been sewn on. I did a back stitch at each top, but that looks really good. I'm really happy with that. Now I've laid the next row on, and in between here this is going to be another 1/2 inch, and then this one will be at least 1/2 inch between these two as well. Also just line them up with this row here because that's all the right size, and at least 1/2 to 1 inch space in between each one. Happy days, all of my lovely 3-inch pockets are all sewn on to the felt backing. I'll let you have a look. There we go. Oh, that's so satisfying. Look how neat and lovely it is. I love it. It did take a while. If you're going to make this, you need to just be patient with this step because
it does take a little bit to get them looking like this.
So the next step in making this advent calendar is to now do the little applique Christmas trees up the top. So I'm going to pop this to the side. Eee. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Heat and Bond or my Vlogmas paper, and I'm going to trace these trees onto the back of that paper, and then iron on the Heat and Bond to each of my felt bits for my trees, and then cut them out and stick them on the top part of the advent calendar. So just in case there are people who don't know how to do an applique or don't know what Heat and Bond does, it's just a paper that you put on the back of the piece that you want to applique, and it just puts like a sticky film, a sticky iron-on film that will then stick this piece on top of your backing felt t-shirt, whatever it is that you're trying to applique. So what's happened is when I peel this paper away, there'll be a shiny film here on the back of the felt. Oh, you can sort of see it, and this film will then stick to the back of our felt background on our advent calendar.
So I've taken the paper off all of my pieces and I've just laid it on top here. I've got about a 2-inch gap here, and I've just sort of placed these maybe about 1.5 inches away from the main tree. Now I'm just going to press these all on, and then I'm going to sew around all of the edges just so they're on there nice and secure.
Okay, now that I've sewn the Christmas trees to the top of the advent calendar, you can see it just there, I've just cut out the same size as what you do with the felt backing of the backing fabric, as well as the purlin or the wadding that's going to go in between. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to iron on this purlin to the back of the advent calendar, and what it's going to do is just going to give it a little bit of like padding, but also a little bit of stability as well, and just make it a little bit more plush and lovely, and like with a bit of a quilty texture as well.
Okay, so I've got the advent calendar here. This is the back, and then this is the purlin, and I don't know whether you can see that it's got like all of these little sort of spots on it. These are the adhesive spots that will stick to the felt once we iron it. So I've just put that on the back. My iron is set to a medium steam on about a cotton linen type setting. So the purlin has now pretty much stuck to the back of the felt. It's on there pretty well. It's just the edges I was a little bit, didn't really do very well. But anyway, I now have these little tab top pieces. These are 2 by 3 inch pieces of felt. They're just the same ones as I used here, and we're going to do a tab top up here. So before we sandwich it with our backing, we need to just pin these into place, and then we're going to put the backing on. So I think I'm going to put them, let's see how many we've got. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I don't have any purple. Hang on a second. Okay, so now we have 5 2 by 3 inch rectangles. I think I said 1.5 before. And I'm just going to sort of lay them there by eye. I'd say it's about 1.5 2 inches apart. And we're going to pop them there like that. And then each one I'm going to fold over and place that way. Just like that. Don't think the green one's going to stay there. I'll have to pin them into place. Yeah, no, it's not going to stay. So when we pull it all out, they're going to be out the right way. So these are all pinned on. There's 2 inches in between these spaces and 1 inch at the end. It looks good, nice and centered. So now I'm going to pop the backing on and pin it into place. Okay, so I've left a 6 inch gap here at the end. I'm going to start sewing here go all the way around the edge, and then stop sewing here so I have this gap to pull it all out the right way. Once we do that, we're sort of on the home stretch. We only have a couple of more steps to do and we're done. So let's keep going. So before I turn this out through this gap that I've left here, I'm just going to trim around each of these edges just so there's no extra sort of bulkage in the seams, and then we'll pull it out. Yay! So at the bottom here where we're pulling it out, I've just left a little bit of I don't know whether you can see that, like this is where I've trimmed down, but I've left a little bit extra in the allowance. That's just so when we're folding it under, we've got plenty to sort of play with and get it nice and even and stuff. So let's pull it out. Okay, so here it is all pulled out the right way. All of our tabs are good, our sides are good, and now we just have to tuck this under. I'll press this under with the iron and then we'll pin it together, and then we're just going to do one more extra stitch just around the whole edge of this just to sort of secure it, and then we're almost finished. Okay, so my battery is flashing, so I don't know how much longer I've got until my camera dies, but I have just sewn around the edges of the advent calendar just to stop the edges from rolling, and now I'm just going to pop some stars on and just decorate the trees, and it's finished. Happy days! It's not the best of lighting, but it'll do. I'm pretty sure I finished the advent calendar and I'm pretty happy with it, I think. I mean, it's definitely handmade. It definitely looks handmade. I'm just going to close the front door because it's a bit noisy. In saying that, I'm very happy with it. There it is. Ta-da! So while the battery was charging, I did add just a couple of extra things to make it finished. So I added on these little gorgeous star buttons just to each of the trees, and then I added a rod to the top, and then I just tied on some fancy rope just at the top to hang it up, and that's it. I'm thinking, I know my trees are looking very, very bare, so if you have any suggestions of what I can put on there, I was thinking of like maybe little buttons or I don't know, sequins or something, or even some ribbon to act as like tinsel. I don't know. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I'd love to know. I hope you were able to follow along with my instructions as I was making this in this vlog, and I hope that you will make one too. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is a full written instruction pattern. Did that make sense? There is a pattern with the full instructions of how to make this in the description box below. It's a link just to my blog. You can download it, print it out and follow it along and make one yourself. Yay. Also, I currently don't have anything to put in the little pockets. I might have to buy some chocolates tomorrow and just fill it up and have the first 4 days not used and then the rest with chocolates in it, I think. So we've come to the point in the day where we're going to do the advent calendar. It's actually quite late and I still haven't done it, which is odd because I'm so excited about this calendar. Anyway, let's open day 4. Let's do it. Oh, hello. Who are you? Don't know who you are. No. Okay, so someone's come out and I actually don't know who it is. It just looks like a random character. So this is the guy that came out. It could be Neville Longbottom. I'm thinking maybe. Don't know, there's just nothing really distinguishing who it is. If you know who this guy is, then let me know. Could be Neville or someone, I don't know. I think I might put him here. He can be looking from afar. Look at that little posse. Nice. So I'm going to end today here. It's been a long day full of sewing. That advent calendar almost took me all day to make, so it was intense, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was a day where everything just sort of came together. I didn't make any mistakes. All of my measurements came together. Like, it was a fluke of just how well the sewing went today, because as I said at the start of the video, I totally winged it. I hadn't really done the measurements or really tested the pattern. I just went for it and it all worked. So I'm pretty proud of myself for being able to write a pattern like that and it come out okay. I don't know. Let me know if you're going to make that calendar. As I mentioned, if you do want to make it, the pattern sheet for this advent calendar is linked below and you can easily download it and print it off and make it. And so with that, friends, thank you all so much for watching day 4, and I hope that you will join me again tomorrow for day 5. And until then, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.